Hi, I'm Max Keiser, and welcome to The Oracle, predicting the news before it happens. Coming to you from our safe house, a bunker deep beneath the Louvre Museum in Paris. Hopefully we'll be safe down here from marauding bankers who are destroying the global economy. Hey, Stacy, you know, The Oracle was right again. On our very first show, we predicted that asset-stripping private equity boss Guy Hands would lose almost everything on his EMI acquisition. We were right. This week, Hands wrote down 50% of the cost of acquiring the record label EMI. That's what we predicted was going to happen. Now, to help us see into the future this week, in the studio is the funniest man in Britain, Andy Zaltzman. And on satellite from Washington, D.C. is economist Dean Baker, co-director of the Center for Economic and Policy Research and author of Plunder and Blunder, The Rise and Fall of the Bubble Economy. Later, we'll be joined by Max Wolf to talk about the latest in the string of bailouts for AIG and Citigroup. Now, Stacy, the global recession is looking more and more like another humongous depression.
Max, they might not have admitted yet that it's a Great Depression, but this is a headline. Brown to discuss global New Deal with Obama. He's over in Washington, D.C. this week, seeking a global New Deal.
Well, Brown got dissed. From what I understand, they did some schedule rearranging. Dean Baker in Washington, do people in America know who Gordon Brown is?
I don't think so. I don't think they knew he was coming. You know, we have John McCain, Gordon Brown, something there. There's a baseball player by that name, I think. But no, he's not. It hasn't gotten a lot of attention here, in all fairness, all seriousness. It's not gotten a lot of attention.
Andy Zaltzman, why don't you tell people, you're actually British. Why don't you tell people who this character Gordon Brown is?
Well, Gordon Brown, well, I think the world should be thankful for Gordon Brown at the moment. He is the only world leader whose face accurately mirrors the global economic situation. So I think he's a very valuable barometer for exactly how bad things are. But Brown, he first mentioned this sort of global New Deal at a meeting in Berlin last week, and it has to be said that British leaders do have a slightly checkered record of coming back from meetings in Germany with cheap sound bites.
Uh-oh.
So let's hope it doesn't backfire quite as much as Neville Chamberlain.
Harkening back to Neville Chamberlain. I hope it's not all that bad, although New Deals precede world wars, so the timing on that. Stacey, what's the next tidbit of news coming across the transom?
Dean, can we actually call it a Great Depression now? Is it a depression or is it still a recession?
Well, hopefully it will stay a recession. If we do the wrong policies, we can get a depression. Things are bad and getting worse. The key to this story is you just have to spend money, but there's a lot of people who would rather see us sitting there with a lot of unemployment than have a bigger budget deficit. Budget deficits aren't great, but it's much better to have a budget deficit than having tens of millions of people out of work.
But they're throwing trillions and trillions of dollars at this. It doesn't seem to be having much traction, Andy Zaltzman.
No, well, I'm not an economist, and I doubt I ever will be. So these numbers are totally incomprehensible to me. I still get excited when I see £50 in used £10 notes. And I think that the key with these bailouts is they have gone beyond the threshold of unfathomability, beyond which human beings cease to be able to comprehend how much money there is. And I think basically if a sum of money has more digits than 2 human hands, we cannot understand it. So I think once it's past 10 billion or whatever, then it's, you know, might as well be anything. So throw trillions at it.
So, Dean Baker, trillions and trillions of dollars, you're just saying this is a necessity, can't get around it, and there's no end to the billions and billions coming down the pike. Is that what's going on in Washington?
Well, we have to distinguish who we're throwing the trillions at. Most of the trillions, unfortunately, or at least I'm concerned, are getting thrown at the bankers, and that's not going to boost the economy. And this is a real problem here, because we got in this mess because we had a lot of bankers that messed up really, really, really badly. Unfortunately, most of them are still running their banks, and we're throwing lots of money at them. And there's no record of that. We have no transparency, or very low transparency. And you could throw trillions at them, and I don't know that will do very much. There are issues there. Their depositors are normal people in many cases. We don't want those people to be hurt. But if we don't have transparency, we don't know that the trillions we're throwing at them are getting back to the normal people's savings as opposed to the pockets of the people that got us in this problem in the first place.
Stacey, what else is happening in the newsosphere?
Well, as during the first Great Depression, when many states went bankrupt, it looks like the American states are now turning to Unorthodox taxes being explored in the United States. In California, there's a bill to potentially legalize marijuana in order to collect what they claim is $1 billion in taxes. Some states are looking to start taxing pornography.
Dean Baker, what about this idea of taxing pornography? Is this going to close the funding gap?
It's an interesting idea. I think we'll get, it'll be interesting to see if the state starts promoting pornography so they can get more tax revenue. It might be interesting because obviously we have lotteries here. I gather you have the same in England, and they've been pushing at lotteries. They get a lot of money off that. So maybe they will start promoting pornography. We'll have commercials, pornography, and we'll get more tax revenue that way. I wouldn't rule it out.
Too bad Clinton's not still in office. His tax bill alone would have probably bailed
Well, he's
out
very
California.
upset. He's probably out there protesting now.
Now the right-wing talk show area in America, the right wing is ablaze with what's going on there.
Speaking of protests, the right wing, of course, is protesting at Obama's new plans, his new budget and his stimulus package for the actual people. Here's a headline from Fox. Rush Limbaugh's shocking words for President Obama.
But if he's going to do FDR, if he's going to do the New Deal all over, which we will call here the raw deal, why would I want him to succeed?
Andy Zaltzman, who is Rush Limbaugh? Does anyone in Britain know who Rush Limbaugh is? I mean...
Well, no, there's a number of good things about being British, and I think possibly the best is that we don't have to listen to Rush Limbaugh. I'm sort of slightly aware of his existence. I had thought previously that Rush Limbaugh was a medical condition that was a kind of instinctive, involuntary, convulsive response of the upper digestive tract to excessive exposure to concentrated bile. But it turns out that obviously he is a talk show host, and he's got that kind of look about him. For those like me who don't know him that well, he's got that kind of look that had he been born a generation previously and in Eastern Europe, there would have been some massive statues of him.
Dean, President Obama has really been placing Rush Limbaugh as the leader of the Republican Party. He's responding to him as if he is. Now, don't you think this is a great long-term plan to just destroy the party of Hoover so that they never create another Great Depression?
I think it's a great plan. The only problem, he doesn't have to do much. They're pretty much destroying themselves. There's a great skit on one of our comedy shows, Saturday Night Live, where they had the Republican leadership in Congress responding to the stimulus package. And of course, they just almost all voted no. And they decided they were making their strategy, so they decided that maybe it was time to start talking about impeachment. And then one of them, the more calmer person, said, wait, that's a little too quick. It's only been in office 3 weeks. We should wait till April. And then they decided that it was time to go after the Obama daughters, because one of them said, unless my political instincts have totally failed me, I think the country's ready to see them taken down a notch. So I think that's where the Republican Party is these days.
Well, it's time now for the Oracle to predict what will happen during this new hyper depression. Prediction 1, California legalizes Class A drugs and prostitution, considers licensing contract killing as well. Prediction number 2, radio talk show host attempts to conduct a regime change while Obama is in London for the G20. I dare Rush to come to Paris and appear on the Oracle. Come over here, you chicken Rush salad. I dare you. Appear on the show. Quick reaction, Andy Zaltzman.
Well, I'd love to be on the show with Rush Limbaugh. Get him over.
Dean Baker, quick reaction to the predictions.
Well, they all sound about right to me. I think maybe if we allowed people the right to tar and feather bankers and chase them through the street and charge them a fee for that, I think that'd be very popular.
Thank you for joining us, Dean Baker. That's it for the first half of the show. Join us after the break. We'll be making predictions about the new deal for banks and a new deal for bankers.